Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about Jefferson nickels, one of the most collected and surprisingly valuable U.S. coins. Many people don't realize that some Jefferson nickels, hiding in their pocket change, could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. These classic American coins have been around since 1938, featuring Thomas Jefferson and his home, Monticello. But certain years, mint marks, and even small design differences can make one of these nickels extremely rare and valuable. So make sure you watch this video all the way to the end, because you might discover that an old Jefferson nickel in your collection is worth way more than 5 cents. And if you love learning about rare and valuable U.S. coins, make sure to subscribe so you never miss my next video on hidden coin treasures. Let's get started. First up, the 1964 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark is one of those American coins that looks completely ordinary, yet it hides an incredible story of history, mintage, and unexpected value. Many people still have these coins in jars, drawers, or old coin collections, not realizing that some of them can be worth far more than face value. So let's talk about why the 1964 D Jefferson nickel is so special, why it was produced in such massive numbers, and how a few rare examples have sold for astonishing amounts at auction. Back in 1964, the United States Mint was facing a serious coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins, and even base metal coins, like the nickel, were being saved rather than spent. To solve this, the Denver Mint struck an enormous number of Jefferson nickels that year, over 1 billion coins. In fact, the 1964 D Jefferson nickel became one of the most heavily minted nickels in American history. Because of that, most collectors assume that all 1964 D nickels are common and not worth collecting. But that assumption is what makes the rare ones so valuable today. Now, even though over 1 billion coins were produced, quality control in 1964 wasn't what it is today. Many nickels came out with weak strikes, die cracks, doubling, or other small mint errors that make them interesting to collectors. The condition of the coin also plays a major role in its value. A circulated 1964 D Jefferson nickel might only be worth its face value, 5 cents, but in uncirculated or high-grade mint state condition, the price can rise dramatically. Collectors look for coins with full steps on the Monticello building on the reverse side. These are nickels where every step of Monticello's staircase is sharply visible. Finding a 1964 D Jefferson nickel with full steps is extremely rare because most of the dies used that year wore down quickly from the enormous mintage run. A coin with full steps shows that it was struck with exceptional precision, and that's where the real money lies. For example, some of the finest known 1964 D Jefferson nickels with full steps have sold for huge amounts at auction. One of the highest prices ever recorded for a 1964 D Jefferson nickel was over $6,000, and that was for a superb gem mint state coin with full steps and brilliant luster. That's an incredible number for a coin that originally cost only 5 cents to make. But the story doesn't stop there. Some era coins from 1964 D are worth even more. There are examples with double dies, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes that collectors chase. Each era adds character, rarity, and higher value to the coin. A Jefferson nickel from 1964 D with a strong doubling on Jefferson's eye or lettering can fetch several $100s, depending on its condition. Now, let's talk about the design that makes this coin instantly recognizable. On the front of the 1964 Jefferson nickel, you see the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlagback in 1938. His profile is bold and simple, with the word Liberty and the year 1964 to the right. The D mint mark for the Denver Mint is located on the reverse side of the coin, to the right of Monticello, Jefferson's famous home. The design remained mostly unchanged for decades, making these nickels an important part of America's everyday coinage. When it comes to composition, the 1964 D Jefferson nickel is made of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It's not a silver coin, but its age and history still make it valuable to collectors. Even though millions are still around, high-grade examples have become harder to find because most circulated coins were used in everyday transactions for decades. The few that remain in pristine condition with sharp details and little to no wear, are the ones that bring in the big prices. Collectors in the U.S. love Jefferson nickels because they tell the story of mid-century America, an era of change, growth, and innovation. The 1964 D coin represents the end of an era too, because after that year, the mint stopped using mint marks temporarily due to the coin shortage and overproduction concerns. That makes the D on the 1964 nickel a small but meaningful historical detail. If you're searching through your old change or inherited a jar of coins, here's what you should look for. First, check the back of the coin for the D mint mark beside Monticello. Then, look closely at the steps. If you can clearly count all 5 or 6 steps without any breaks, you might have a valuable full-step example. Next, check the coin surface. Coins with strong luster, no scratches, and sharp details are the ones collectors pay the most for. Even though 1964 D nickels are common in lower grades, the best preserved ones continue to increase in value as collectors realize how rare perfect strikes truly are. Over the years, many of these nickels have been melted, lost, or damaged, meaning the surviving top-quality examples are getting scarcer. That's exactly why a few can reach thousands of dollars at auction. Collectors are competing to own the finest ones known. Imagine finding a 1964 D Jefferson nickel in your change, only to learn it's worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. It happens more often than people think. Coin dealers and collectors across the country actively search for these gems because they understand how condition, rarity, and eye appeal drive value. Even a small difference in quality, such as sharper details or cleaner surfaces, can turn a 5-cent coin into a serious collectible. The Jefferson nickel series as a whole has become a cornerstone of U.S. coin collecting. It's approachable for beginners because the coins are still easy to find, but it also offers advanced collectors a challenge when hunting for rare varieties like the 1964 D with full steps. That balance keeps demand high, which in turn pushes prices upward for the best examples. If we think about it, the 1964 D Jefferson nickel tells a story that connects history, craftsmanship, and value. It reminds us that even the most ordinary coins can become valuable over time, depending on how well they were struck and how well they've survived. Every scratch, every mark, and every detail tells part of that story. So when you're looking at your nickels, don't just see a 5-cent coin. Look closer. Study the details, the shine, and the mint mark. That tiny D might mean the difference between pocket change and a collectible worth thousands. Some of the finest examples graded by professional collectors have reached well over $6,000 at auction, proving that this coin deserves serious attention. Collectors are also watching the market trends for Jefferson nickels. Prices for high-grade 1964 D examples have shown steady growth over the last decade, especially those certified as full-step specimens. That means the demand for quality continues to rise as more people learn about the coin's true potential. Even if your 1964 D Jefferson nickel isn't in perfect condition, it's still worth keeping. Every year, more collectors join the hobby, and the interest in mid-20th century U.S. coins grows stronger. Over time, even average coins can gain collector value, especially if they have any type of mint-error or unique die feature. In summary, the 1964 D Jefferson nickel stands as a fascinating piece of American coinage history. A coin produced during a time of national change, yet now sought after for its beauty and rarity in high grades. With over 1 billion minted, most people think they're common, but a few exceptional pieces prove that condition and detail can transform an ordinary nickel into a valuable treasure. And with a record auction price of more than $6,000, this small coin has earned a big reputation in the world of coin collecting. Next up, the 1971 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark might look like any ordinary 5-cent coin, but in reality, this small piece of American history has surprised many collectors and even casual coin hunters with its hidden value. Millions of people across the United States still have these nickels sitting in jars, drawers, and old change collections without realizing that some of them could be worth far more than face value. This is a coin that reminds us to look closely, because the tiniest details can make all the difference between a common nickel and one worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's start with the basics. The 1971 Jefferson nickel without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. That's why there's no letter under the year on the front side of the coin, because in 1971, Philadelphia didn't use a mint mark for nickels. The design is the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his famous home, Monticello, on the reverse. This design, created by Felix Schlag back in 1938, has become one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coin history. The 1971 Jefferson nickel was made from the standard composition used for decades, 75% copper and 25% nickel. It's a coin that's not made of silver, but what gives it value today isn't the metal, it's the rarity, the condition, and the small variations that make certain coins stand out. While most 1971 nickels are only worth their face value of 5 cents, some in pristine condition or with unique minting characteristics can sell for incredible prices. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 316 million Jefferson nickels in 1971. That's a huge number, but not every one of those coins was created equally. During the minting process, small imperfections, die wear, and striking issues resulted in variations that today are highly sought after by collectors. The key is to understand what makes one of these 1,971 nickels valuable. One of the most important factors in determining value is condition. A worn or circulated 1971 Jefferson nickel is still a nice piece of history, but it's not going to make you rich. However, if you find one in uncirculated or mint state condition, with sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of wear, that's when things start to get interesting. Collectors pay close attention to the steps on the Monticello building on the reverse side. A coin that shows all 5 or 6 steps clearly and unbroken is known as a full steps Jefferson nickel, and that's where real value begins. Finding a 1971 Jefferson nickel with full steps is very rare because most of the dies used in production that year were heavily worn from striking millions of coins. The detail on the steps often became soft or completely flat, making sharply struck examples extremely scarce. That's why collectors will pay a premium for a 1971 no-mint mark nickel that shows crisp, full steps. Over time, as more collectors searched for these coins, it became clear that high-grade examples from 1971 are not easy to find. Most nickels from that era went straight into circulation and stayed there for years. By the time people started collecting them, most were already worn down. The few that remained untouched, with bright luster and full details, became prized possessions. Now, here's where things get exciting. The highest price ever recorded at auction for a 1971 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark reached an astonishing $2,875 for a superb gem example with full steps and incredible eye appeal. That's right, a simple 5-cent coin, struck in copper nickel, sold for nearly $3,000. And this wasn't because it contained any precious metal, but because of its exceptional condition and rarity in that pristine state. When you think about it, that's what makes coin collecting so fascinating. The 1971 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark teaches us that value isn't always about what a coin is made of, but about how it survived. A coin that went untouched for over 50 years, kept in nearly perfect condition, is a time capsule of American minting history. Let's talk a bit about what to look for if you want to find a valuable example. First, flip your 1971 Jefferson nickel over and carefully look at the steps of Monticello. If you can count 5 or 6 sharp steps with clear separation between them, you may have a full steps coin. Next, examine the coin surfaces. Coins with mirror-like luster, no scratches, and strong detail on Jefferson's face and hair are the ones collectors love. Finally, look for any unusual errors. Some 1971 nickels show die cracks, doubling on the lettering, or even off-center strikes. These mint errors can make your coin even more valuable. There are collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels, and they know just how difficult it is to find a well-struck example from the early 1970s. During that time, the U.S. Mint was focused on mass production, not perfection. That's why the 1971 no-mint mark nickel stands out when you find one in excellent shape. It's a survivor from a time when quality wasn't a priority. The 1971 Jefferson nickel also has a historical charm that draws people in. It came out during a period of American change, after the end of silver coinage, and during the Vietnam era, when the country was transitioning economically and culturally. These nickels were part of everyday life for millions of Americans, used in vending machines, parking meters, and stores. Holding one today connects you directly to that time in history. Even though it's not a silver coin, collectors consider the 1971 nickel an essential part of the Jefferson series. It's a coin that rewards patience and attention to detail. Many collectors have spent years searching rolls of nickels, hoping to find that one brilliant 1971 coin with full steps and no marks. Every so often, one surfaces, and that's when the excitement begins. Let's put this into perspective. Out of hundreds of millions struck, only a handful are known in top gem condition with full steps. That's why the best ones have sold for thousands. When you realize that level of rarity, it makes sense why collectors go to such lengths to preserve and hunt for these coins. Even if you don't have a top-graded example, the 1971 Jefferson nickel is still worth holding on to. With coin collecting gaining more popularity across America, more people are starting to appreciate the historical and aesthetic value of these nickels. Over time, as demand increases and fewer high-quality coins remain in circulation, even mid-grade examples could rise in value. Now, one interesting detail about the 1971 Jefferson nickel is that it represents a transitional era for the mint. By that time, mint marks had become an important part of identifying where coins were made. But Philadelphia still didn't use one-on nickels. It wasn't until 1980 that the P mint mark began appearing on Jefferson nickels. So, when you see a 1971 nickel with no mint mark, you're looking at a piece of pre-1980 minting tradition. That small absence of a letter connects it to an earlier chapter in U.S. coin history. Collectors often say that Jefferson nickels are among the most underrated coins in American numismatics. They're affordable to start collecting, yet filled with hidden gems like the 1971 no mint mark issue. Some collectors even specialize exclusively in finding full steps examples from each year, which can take years of searching. That challenge adds excitement and value to the hobby. So, if you're going through your old change or coin jars, don't overlook those older nickels. Take the time to check the date, look for that missing mint mark, and examine the steps on Monticello. That simple 5-cent coin might be a valuable collectible just waiting to be discovered. It's truly amazing to think that a coin most people spent without a second thought decades ago can now be worth thousands when preserved in pristine condition. That's the magic of coin collecting, finding history, rarity, and value all in the palm of your hand. The 1971 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark proves that not all treasure is made of gold or silver. Sometimes it's the small, everyday coins that tell the greatest stories and carry the most unexpected worth. From a production of over 316 million pieces, only a handful have stood the test of time in top condition. Those are the coins that shine brightest in the eyes of collectors, and that's why one sold for as much as $2,875. A remarkable number for something once used to buy a stick of gum. As more collectors discover the appeal of Jefferson nickels, the 1971 issue continues to gain recognition as an underrated gem. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, this coin offers a perfect reminder. Always check your change carefully, because even the smallest coin can hold a piece of American history, and sometimes a hidden fortune. Next up, the 1962 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark might look like just another 5-cent coin from everyday change, but this little coin holds much more history, mystery, and potential value than most people realize. Across the United States, collectors continue to search for the rare, high-quality examples of the 1962 D. Jefferson nickel because a few of them have proven to be worth far more than face value. Some have even sold for thousands of dollars at auction. Let's take a closer look at why this particular year and mint mark combination is so special. The D on the back of the coin stands for the Denver Mint, where millions of these nickels were produced. In 1962, the U.S. Mint was in full production mode, and the Denver facility struck over 280 million Jefferson nickels that year. With such a massive mintage, most people assume that all 1962 D nickels are common, but that's where the story gets interesting. because not every coin is created equal. The 1962 D. Jefferson nickel was designed, like all Jefferson nickels of the time, by Felix Schlag. On the front of the coin is the profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, with the words, "In God We Trust," and liberty beside him. On the reverse side is Monticello, Jefferson's famous home, with the mint mark D to the right of the building. This design had already been in use for more than 2 decades by 1962, but every year, slight differences in striking quality, die wear, and mint errors created new varieties that today are fascinating to collectors. The composition of the 1962 D. Jefferson nickel is 75% copper and 25% nickel. There's no silver in it, but that doesn't mean it isn't valuable. Its worth comes from its condition, rarity, and the presence of details, like the full steps on Monticello, a feature that serious collectors always look for. A full steps Jefferson nickel means that the steps leading up to Monticello are completely visible and sharply struck, with no breaks or weak spots. This level of precision is very hard to find, especially in older nickels, like the 1962 D, because the dies used to strike them often wore out quickly after making thousands of coins. The majority of 1962 D nickels you find in circulation today are worn down, showing signs of years of use. They may only be worth face value, about 5 cents, or slightly more if they're in better condition. But when you find one that has been preserved perfectly, with strong details, bright luster, and especially with full steps, that's when the value skyrockets. Collectors and coin grading experts have seen some of these 1962 D. Jefferson nickels in mint state grades bring incredible prices. The record for the highest price ever paid for a 1962 D. Jefferson nickel at auction reached around $12,650 for an exceptional gem with full steps and near-perfect strike quality. That's right, a simple nickel that once bought a piece of candy sold for over $12,000 because of its pristine condition and rarity. So what makes that kind of coin so special? It's all about how well it was struck and how well it survived. When you think about the billions of coins that go through circulation, it's amazing that a few can survive for over 60 years without a single scratch or mark. Those are the coins that collectors treasure. Now, let's talk about what you should look for if you come across a 1962 D. Jefferson nickel. The first thing is the mint mark. Flip the coin over and look to the right of the Monticello building. If you see a small D, that means it was struck in Denver. Then, look closely at the steps of Monticello. If they appear sharp, straight, and unbroken, you might have a full steps coin. Even if your coin doesn't have full steps, it can still have value if it's in excellent condition with strong luster and no major scratches. Some 1962 D nickels also have minor minting errors that can make them more valuable. Collectors have reported double dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks from that year. Any of these features can increase the coin's desirability and price, especially if the coin is in good condition. During the early 1960s, the Denver Mint was producing coins at an enormous rate to meet demand, and that means some dies wore out quickly, producing soft details or even slightly misaligned strikes. Because of this, sharp strike coins from 1962 D are not common, and that's exactly what drives the price for high-quality examples so high today. Let's imagine the history for a moment. In 1962, the United States was in a period of growth and change. John F. Kennedy was president, and the country was moving toward a new decade of innovation. These nickels circulated through the hands of Americans living in that moment in time, through gas stations, diners, and shops across the nation. Holding one today connects you directly to that piece of mid-20th century America. Even though it's not a silver coin, the 1962 D. Jefferson nickel has become a favorite for collectors who appreciate both its design and its story. The Felix Schlag design represents American artistry and tradition, while the coin's connection to a historic period adds sentimental value. Now, if you're searching through your own coin jar or an inherited collection, take a closer look at the 1962 D nickels you might find. You never know what could be hiding there. Many collectors discovered valuable nickels purely by accident, A coin that looked ordinary turned out to be a rare high-grade example or an era coin worth hundreds. It's important to understand that condition is everything when it comes to Jefferson nickels. A lightly circulated coin might sell for a small premium, maybe $1 or $2, while a mint-state coin with full steps can jump to hundreds or thousands depending on its grade. Coins graded as MS 65 or higher are the ones that attract attention from serious collectors and auction houses. The Jefferson nickel series has been an ongoing favorite among U.S. coin enthusiasts because it's both accessible and challenging. Anyone can start collecting nickels, but finding rare, high-quality examples like the 1962 D with full steps can take patience and skill. That's why even experienced collectors enjoy the series. It rewards careful searching and knowledge. The 1962 D also represents one of the last few years before major changes to U.S. coinage in the mid-1960s. It's a bridge between the classic designs of earlier decades and the more modern coins that followed. Its large mintage means many were made, but only a fraction survive in top condition, which is what makes those few survivors so valuable. Even if your 1962 D Jefferson nickel isn't one of the ultra-rare ones, it still has collectible interest. The demand for older nickels continues to grow as more collectors focus on completing full date and mint mark sets. Over time, even average examples can increase in value simply because of age and diminishing supply. Some collectors specialize in era nickels from the early 1960s. For example, a repunched D mint mark, where the letter was struck twice, slightly offset, can be a fascinating find and add extra value. A coin with die doubling on Jefferson's profile, or the word Liberty, can also attract premium offers from collectors. When we think about coins like the 1962 D Jefferson nickel, we're reminded that hidden treasures can still be found in ordinary places. Every once in a while, a collector or hobbyist goes through old rolls of nickels and uncovers something unexpected, a near-perfect gem that looks like it just left the mint. Those are the discoveries that make this hobby exciting. The Jefferson nickel series offers an amazing window into American minting history, and the 1962 D issue is one of the most interesting. Its combination of large mintage, worn dies, and scarcity of full steps coins creates a perfect recipe for collectible rarity. That's why top-grade examples command such high prices, because they're the exceptions in a sea of ordinary nickels. To put it simply, the 1962 D Jefferson nickel is proof that not every valuable coin needs to be made of gold or silver. Sometimes, value lies in precision, survival, and condition. The best of these coins, the ones with perfect steps, no marks, and full brilliance, have already proven their worth in the marketplace. With one selling for over $12,650, it's clear that even the most common-looking coin can hold extraordinary potential. So, the next time you see a 1962 D Jefferson nickel, don't pass it up. Look closely, study the details, and appreciate the craftsmanship. You might just be holding a small piece of American history that's far more valuable than you think. Next up, the 1984 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark might look like just another everyday 5-cent coin, but this little coin holds a fascinating story and surprising value that most people have never realized. Many Americans still have these nickels in old jars, boxes, or coffee cans full of change, not knowing that some of them could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. That's why collectors across the country are paying close attention to the 1984 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, because hidden among the common ones are few extraordinary pieces that have sold for incredible amounts. Let's start by understanding what makes this coin so interesting. The 1984 Jefferson nickel was minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The ones made in Philadelphia bear a small P mint mark located just to the right of Jefferson's portrait on the obverse of the coin. This is important because, before 1980, the Philadelphia Mint didn't use the P mint mark on nickels, so coins made before that year have no letter. By 1984, however, the P mint mark had become a standard feature, helping collectors easily identify where the coin came from. In 1984, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 746 million Jefferson nickels. That's nearly 3/4 of a billion coins, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But not every one of those coins is the same. Most were circulated and worn down through everyday use, but a few survived in pristine, high-grade condition. And those are the coins that command serious attention and value in today's market. The design of the 1984 Jefferson nickel remains the same classic look created by sculptor Felix Schlagback in 1938. The obverse features the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson facing left, with the words "In God We Trust" on the left and "Liberty" and the year 1984 on the right, just beside the P mint mark. On the reverse is Jefferson's home, Monticello, along with the inscriptions "E Pluribus Unum," United States of America, and 5 cents. The composition of the 1984 Jefferson nickel is 75% copper and 25% nickel, no silver, no gold, but a simple base metal coin that tells the story of modern America. What gives it value is not the metal itself, but the rarity of finding one in perfect condition. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of them, but very few came out with sharp, fully detailed strikes. Collectors pay special attention to coins with what are known as full steps on the reverse. This refers to the steps on the Monticello building being fully visible and sharply struck. A full steps Jefferson nickel shows all the lines clearly without any breaks. Finding one from 1984 with full steps is quite difficult because the dies used that year were often overused, leading to soft or weak details. That's why any 1984 P. Jefferson nickel with full steps is rare and valuable. Over time, collectors and grading services have recorded that these coins can bring significant premiums when found in superb condition. The record for the highest price ever paid at auction for a 1984 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark was $1,265, and that was for an example graded in mint state with full steps, meaning it had extraordinary detail and almost perfect preservation. While that might not sound like a fortune, it's a huge jump from 5 cents, and it proves that condition and detail can turn a regular coin into a collectible treasure. Now, let's break down what makes certain 1984 P. Jefferson nickels more valuable than others. The first factor is condition. Coins that have been in circulation, showing wear and tear, usually hold only their face value. But a coin that has been carefully preserved, showing full luster and no marks or scratches, can be worth many times more. In fact, even a lightly circulated 1984 P nickel in excellent condition might bring a few dollars to a collector who needs that date for a set. The second factor is the strike quality. How well the design details were imprinted during minting. As mentioned before, full steps coins are the most desirable. These are the coins that were struck with just the right pressure and die alignment, resulting in sharp, crisp details across the entire design. Because the Philadelphia Mint produced such a large quantity in 1984, the dies wore down quickly, so perfectly struck coins are rare. The third factor is errors and varieties. The 1984 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark is known to have a few interesting varieties that collectors search for. Some coins show doubling on the reverse lettering. That's called a double die reverse. If you find one with clear doubling on the word Monticello or 5 cents, you could be holding a much more valuable piece. Some examples of these double die nickels have sold for hundreds of dollars, even in circulated condition. Another thing to look out for is die cracks or die chips, small raised areas on the coin caused by damaged dies. These are not extremely valuable, but they add character and can make your coin unique. Collectors often enjoy finding small variations like these. When searching for a valuable 1984 P. Jefferson nickel, always start by checking the overall appearance of the coin. Look for strong luster, no major contact marks, and good eye appeal. The brighter and cleaner the coin looks, the better. Then check the steps on Monticello under good light. If you can count 5 or 6 sharp steps without breaks, that's a strong indication that you may have something special. It's worth noting that Jefferson nickels from the 1980s are beginning to gain more attention from collectors. For many years, people overlooked them because they weren't made of silver or didn't seem old enough to be considered classic coins. But as time passes, coins from the 1980s are now over 40 years old, and the number of high-quality examples still available is dropping. That means the demand for mint-condition 1984 Jefferson nickels is gradually increasing. Collectors are also building complete Jefferson nickel sets by date and mint mark, and when they reach the 1984 slot, they often struggle to find a perfect mint mark coin with full steps. That scarcity is what pushes prices up. Even though millions were minted, only a few hundred survive in top gem condition. The 1984 Jefferson nickel represents a fascinating chapter in U.S. coinage, a modern coin that bridges the gap between the older, post-war nickels and the newer designs that followed. It also reflects how changes in minting technology affected coin quality. During the early 1980s, the mint was still adjusting to new metal compositions and striking techniques, which led to inconsistencies in strike sharpness and surface quality. Even though it's not made of silver, the 1984 Jefferson nickel holds real collector value when found in top shape. Many of these coins have been mishandled, dropped, or exposed to moisture over the decades, which makes clean, shiny, untouched examples even rarer. That's why collectors prize coins that look like they were just minted yesterday. Imagine the excitement of finding a coin in your change that looks so ordinary, but turns out to be a rare gem. That's the thrill of coin collecting, and it's exactly what happens when someone discovers a pristine 1984 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark and full steps. Even though the average one might only be worth a few cents, the exceptional ones have already sold for over $1,200 at auction, proving that hidden treasures are still out there in American change. The Jefferson nickel series continues to be one of the most popular and affordable areas of U.S. coin collecting. It's accessible for beginners, but still offers plenty of challenges for experienced numismatists who are chasing rare dates, errors, and high-grade examples. And among them, the 1984 P is quietly becoming more respected for its scarcity and top condition. If you have old rolls of nickels or jars of coins at home, take some time to look through them. You might be surprised to find a 1984 Jefferson nickel that looks a little sharper or shinier than the rest. Examine it closely. Look for that small P on the front, check the steps on Monticello, and study the overall appearance. You never know what you might uncover. Coins like the 1984 Jefferson nickel remind us that even modern coins can hold serious value. While older silver coins often steal the spotlight, these newer issues are quietly increasing in demand as collectors realize how few perfect examples actually exist. And that's exactly why this coin deserves your attention. So, the next time you come across a 1984 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to study it. You could be holding a small piece of numismatic history, a coin that has already proven that even modern nickels can reach prices of over $1,265 at auction when found in the best possible condition. That's what makes collecting Jefferson nickels so rewarding. Each one tells a story, and sometimes that story leads to a discovery worth far more than anyone expected. Next up, the 1975 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark might seem like just another 5-cent coin from your pocket change. But what many people don't realize is that this coin can actually be quite valuable. There are collectors across the United States who are constantly searching for rare Jefferson nickels, and among them, the 1975 D Jefferson nickel has gained a reputation for being one of those coins that can surprise even experienced collectors with its hidden value. The Jefferson nickel series has been part of American coinage since 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by sculptor Felix Schlag, the coin honors Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, whose face appears on the obverse. The reverse displays his Virginia home, Monticello, which remains one of the most recognizable images in American numismatics. Even though the design remained mostly unchanged until the early 2000s, every single year and mint mark tells its own story, and 1975 was no exception. The 1975 Jefferson nickel was struck at two major U.S. mints, Philadelphia and Denver, but the Denver minted coin, identifiable by its small d, mint mark located to the right of Jefferson's portrait, has a special following. Over 401 million Jefferson nickels were produced at the Denver Mint that year, which sounds like a huge number. But as collectors know, quantity doesn't always mean quality. Out of those hundreds of millions, Only a tiny fraction survived in exceptional condition, and that's where the real value lies. The 1970s were a challenging decade for U.S. coin production. The mint was focused on efficiency, trying to meet the nation's growing demand for circulating coins. Because of that, many of the dies used to strike coins like the 1975 D. Jefferson nickel wore down quickly, leading to weak strikes and blurry details. That means well-struck examples, especially those with what collectors call full steps on Monticello, are very difficult to find today. Full steps refer to the horizontal lines at the base of the Monticello design on the reverse of the Jefferson nickel. For a coin to qualify as full steps, those lines must be completely visible and sharply defined, with no breaks or flattening. It's an indicator of an exceptional strike and perfect preservation, and it's the single most important factor that separates an ordinary nickel from a valuable one. Most 1975 D. Jefferson nickels were released into circulation and quickly picked up marks, scratches, and wear. Those common coins are worth face value, 5 cents. But when a coin is found in mint state condition, with full luster, no marks, and sharp details, collectors will pay real money for it. In fact, high-grade examples certified as mint state 65 or higher can be worth anywhere from $10 to over $100, depending on eye appeal and strike quality. However, the truly rare 1975 D. Jefferson nickels are the ones that combine both the top-tier mint state grade and the full steps designation. These coins represent the finest quality available and are highly sought after by serious Jefferson nickel collectors. And that's where the big money comes in. The highest price ever recorded at auction for a 1975 D. Jefferson nickel is an impressive $1,265, paid for a single coin graded MS-67 with full steps. That sale showed just how passionate collectors are about finding the best of the best. To think that a simple 5-cent piece could sell for over $1,000 proves that even modern-era nickels can carry serious value if they're preserved perfectly. So, what makes this particular coin so special? The 1975 D. Jefferson nickel is part of a period in American coinage when striking quality varied significantly. Denver-minted coins were known for strong strikes in some years, but weaker ones in others. In 1975, the dies were used heavily, which means crisp details and full steps were rare right from the start. That's why very few coins survive with the kind of precision collectors demand today. If you happen to find a 1975 D. Jefferson nickel that still has strong detail on Jefferson's hair, clear lettering, and visible steps on Monticello, don't ignore it. That coin deserves a closer look. It might not look like much at first glance, but when you examine it under good lighting, you could be staring at a valuable piece of numismatic history. Let's talk about the design details for a moment. On the obverse, you'll see Jefferson facing left, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," on the left and "Liberty," and 1975 on the right, followed by that all-important D mint mark. On the reverse, the iconic Monticello building stands at the center, with the words E Pluribus Unum above, United States of America, along the bottom, and 5 cents just beneath the building. The simplicity of the design is what gives this coin its timeless charm, and what makes even the smallest imperfections or exceptional details stand out to collectors. The composition of the 1975 Jefferson nickel remains the same as it has been since World War II ended, 75% copper and 25% nickel. There's no silver, but the nickel alloy gives it that distinct shine and durability. Over time, the surface can dull or tone, but a bright, original luster is what collectors love to see. One reason the 1975 D nickel is growing in value is that collectors today are focusing more on modern coins that were once ignored. For decades, people didn't think nickels from the 1970s could ever be worth more than a few cents. But as populations of high-grade coins shrink, because most circulated heavily, the surviving pristine examples are now commanding strong premiums. The market for Jefferson nickels has evolved, and even coins from the 1970s are getting the respect they deserve. Another factor that affects the value of the 1975 D. Jefferson nickel is the presence of minting errors. While not common, some examples have been discovered with double dies, die cracks, or off-center strikes. A double die might show extra thickness or a shadow image on the lettering or numbers. These errors are fascinating to collectors because they make each coin unique, and error nickels can easily sell for much more than regular ones. If you're someone who enjoys checking their pocket change or coin jars, the 1975 D. Jefferson nickel is one of those coins you should always keep an eye out for. You might be surprised at how often people overlook nickels from this era, even though they've been in circulation for 50 years. The 1975 D is now considered vintage by many collectors, and as each year passes, finding one in perfect condition becomes harder and harder. Imagine finding a coin from 1975 that still looks like it just left the mint, shiny, flawless, and beautifully struck. That's the kind of coin that excites collectors. Those are the coins that can make their way into auctions and bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And the fact that one already sold for $1,265 at auction proves that this coin has potential far beyond its 5-cent face value. Collectors who build complete Jefferson nickel sets by date and mint mark often struggle with coins from the mid-1970s because they're notoriously difficult to find with sharp strikes and full steps. The 1975 D fits perfectly into that category. When a collector finally finds one that meets those standards, they're willing to pay top dollar to complete their collection. It's also interesting to note that the 1975 D. Jefferson nickel was minted during a time of economic transition in the United States. The mid-1970s saw inflation, coin shortages, and changing production priorities. The mint was focused on quantity over perfection, which helps explain why finding a gem 1975 D today feels like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, even if your coin doesn't have full steps, it can still hold value if it's in exceptional condition. A clean, bright, uncirculated 1975 D. Jefferson nickel can attract collector interest, especially if it has strong details and no visible marks. These coins can be worth $10, $20, or more, and as collector interest in modern nickels continues to grow, those prices could increase over time. The story of the 1975 D. Jefferson nickel is a perfect reminder that valuable coins don't always have to be old or made of precious metal. Sometimes, the coins minted within our own lifetimes become treasures because of how few survive in top condition. Every time a collector opens a roll of nickels from the 1970s, there's a small chance of discovering a gem, a coin that looks ordinary but holds real value. When you think about it, the Jefferson nickel has quietly been one of the most collected American coins for decades. It's affordable, it's historic, and it's still in circulation today. But among all those nickels, the rare ones like the 1975 D with full steps stand out as true collectibles. So if you ever come across a 1975 Jefferson nickel with that small D mint mark, take a closer look. Check the details, the steps, the shine, and the overall appearance. It might just be a hidden treasure, the kind of coin that turns spare change into something worth hundreds or even over $1,000. That's the magic of coin collecting in America. You never know what's hiding in plain sight. The 1975 D. Jefferson nickel proves that even a coin minted 50 years ago, worth just 5 cents at face value, can sell for over $1,265 when it's preserved in mint condition with full steps. And that's why this coin remains one of the quiet but powerful hidden gems of modern U.S. coinage. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed learning about these rare and valuable U.S. coins, make sure you check out my previous video on wheat pennies, because some of those old Lincoln cents are worth way more than you'd ever imagine. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you love discovering the hidden value of everyday coins, from Jefferson nickels to wheat pennies and other rare finds, then subscribe to my channel right now and join our amazing community of American coin collectors. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and leave a comment below letting me know what rare coins you found or which coin you want me to talk about next. Your engagement really helps this channel grow and keeps these valuable coin stories coming every week. So once again, make sure to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And after this video, go watch my last one about wheat pennies to learn how even a simple penny can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. Thanks for being part of this amazing coin collecting journey, and I'll see you in the next video.